Hey everyone, welcome to the Darksliders podcast with Doug and Brad and our review of Batman Arkham Knight. So this is our first review, so to speak. So just to throw out what we're doing here, this isn't necessarily a typical review with a score at the end and everything broken down into categories and a one-word description of buy, don't buy, anything like that. All this is just kind of a casual conversation between the two of us about what Doug thought of it as he finished it up over this past weekend. We tried to stay as spoiler free as possible, so don't worry about having anything spoiled. We tried to keep it as generic as possible.
Last podcast, I talked a little bit about Arkham Knight. I'd only played an hour of it, and now I beat Arkham Knight, and I didn't like it.
And we've talked a little bit about this already, and you have yet to give me a good reason why you didn't like it.
I oh man, it's so hard to explain. Okay, me and Brad don't like Arkham Origins. I guess that's a good place to start. Uh,
Well, I don't think a lot of people don't like Arkham Origins.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think the reason I specifically don't like Arkham Origins was because it just felt like an Arkham game. Like it didn't bring a lot new to the table. I thought the story was actually really well done, but like outside the actual gameplay to me, it was just like, oh, okay, I'm just playing an Arkham game.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I feel like with Arkham Knight. Like I feel like right now this is the best Arkham they could possibly do, but it still feels like those. It still feels like you're still going through the same rhythms when you're attacking enemies. You're still like pressing R1 at the same points you would like latch on and grapple away. It all feels really really similar to past Arkham games, and it just kind of felt like the entire time I was playing, it's like I felt like I've played this before. Like this is definitely a better version of it, but I definitely played this before, and it felt really kind of derivative. I think I don't know, like I think everything is it's kind of hard to like talk about just because everything is so improved, but it's just again it's just so similar. Like when you go into a fight, the one thing I did like is that they actually mix up. You have a lot of different enemy types you go against. So you really because I think in the other one you kind of in the other Arkham games you're like okay I got to take down the knife guy first and then the big guy. But now this actually
Yep.
includes a lot of the enemies from Arkham Origins. So you have like in a single fight you'd have like a big guy with a sword, another big guy. You'd have guys with tasers. There's this new enemy that can revive people and electrocute people. And you got guys with tasers, and you just got like a bunch of different enemy types. I really like that. I liked how they sort of mixed up the different enemy types with like every battle you fought. It did feel a little bit more exciting than past Arkham games. I was thinking a little bit more. Um, but
But basically, it sounds like you're just kind of sick of Arkham in general.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's not necessarily this is bad, it's just more that the concept of it has kind of run its course.
Yeah, it's a lot like the gameplay especially. It just feels like, I've already played 80 hours of previous Arkham games. And so it just feels like, okay, this is just another 20 hours of another Arkham game, which is kind of a bummer because like I said, it's just really, really well done. So it's kind of hard to be like too mean about it. Actually, the one thing I do like, they actually have a side mission there's a side mission where you meet Two Face. That's not really a spoiler. It's Two Face. It's like then
You're
all.
going to meet everybody. I mean, that's how it goes in every one of these games.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's basically the Predator mode, like where everybody has guns, but this time they throw like 20 guys at you, and I really, really like that. Like the Predator missions are awesome this time. Instead of just like 5 or 6 guys, you're just like picking them off one by one, kind of do the other games. You have to be really, really quick because there's just so many guys. Like you need to get in, get out. It's actually kind of cool with the predatory missions too. Is like I felt like I was actually using all the tools that I had. I feel kind of like with the Arkham games, you sort of forget what tools you have, and you can kind of get by like not using all your tools.
Yeah.
And like some of the things in Arkham that it was kind of hard to pull off was like smashing through the glass to get to a guy, or doing like contextually sensitive things. Like I'm mostly like dropping down on enemies. It's kind of hard to do, but this one they've smoothed it out incredibly, and like I felt like the controls were like so on point that like every time I did something, I meant to do that.
Yeah, because I feel like that does come up a lot with those Predator missions is, oh shit, I missed the little gargoyle, or that wasn't the one I wanted to go to, and things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, and this one, I mean, just because they had like 3 games to practice, they, yeah, like the controls of Batman are awesome. Um, oh, the one thing I was kind of not surprised, but I was kind of glad they did was they actually did take not a lot, but they do acknowledge Arkham Origins like quite a bit because I knew Arkham Origins was by a different team. I kind of thought like, okay, we're just gonna
Yep.
kind of forget about Arkham Origins ever happened. Um,
Yeah.
but they actually make they make a lot of references to Arkham Origins actually. And if you've played all the games, like this is a pretty good conclusion to the series. Like I don't know, like goons will reference being at Blackgate, they'll reference being at the Asylum, they'll reference being at City. There'll be a lot of hints that they drop to like previous games that you wouldn't necessarily know about unless you played the previous games.
But they're just like subtle things, right? So if somebody is just now jumping into Arkham, it wouldn't be that overbearing sense of, oh man, I'm behind.
Yeah, I think if you played City, like honestly, like right now, I think if you just played City and Night, like you'd have a great time with the series. I think like saying this is the best game in the series. I'm just kind of like I'm kind of fatigued from the series. But I imagine if somebody like this was their first Arkham game, this game would be mind blowing because it is
Okay.
so well done. Um, but yeah, I think that the story. Actually, I can talk a little about the story without getting too much into spoilers. The thing I really like about the story is Arkham Asylum. This is the end of Arkham Asylum, so watch out. I'll probably spoil Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. So Arkham Asylum ends really stupid, and a lot of people didn't
Oh,
like
it's
it.
terrible.
Yeah, so
It's so bad.
Joker takes like a veer, a fear, not a fear. He takes the Venom stuff that
Yep.
Bane uses, and he becomes Super
And
Joker.
he basically turns into Bane with funny makeup.
Yeah, it was dumb. But that is actually like a major plot point that carries through the entire series, and like it's a major plot point in Arkham Knight.
Just like Venom or the Joker specifically
Joker's
taking
well,
it.
not the Joker specifically, but like the Joker's okay. Like in Arkham City, he sends out blood packets and poisons a bunch of people with his blood.
Yeah.
Okay, but that becomes like a major plot point in this one. Like I think it's kind of cool. This dumb thing that nobody liked in Asylum becomes a major plot point. That is actually super cool. I don't want to. It's really hard to talk about the story in Arkham Knight without spoiling anything. I did like the story a bit. I didn't like the tone. Um,
I know you complained a couple times on Twitter and things like that just about how dark it was. So I'm curious to know
yeah,
more about that.
yeah. Um, man, it's so hard to go. It's so hard to talk about it without going to spoiler territory. But a lot of people are saying it's like, oh man, Batman seems more brutal, in this game, and he is. Like it's like you're breaking bones, you're doing a lot of gross stuff. There's other things that we were kind of worried about. It's like, oh, the M rating is it going to be like more violent? Is it? It
Yeah.
is. It is far more violent than the other Arkham games, by far. Lot of deaths, no blood though, so don't worry about
Oh,
it.
of course.
Yeah, there's no blood, so which is funny because I see they can get away with a lot without showing blood. Um, but yeah, it kind of felt like Twisted Metal Black. That's what I kept thinking of every time I was playing this game. It's like the Twisted Metal Black of the Arkham Asylum series.
For those who haven't played Twisted Metal Black, I think I know what you're getting at, but what are you trying to say?
Like, okay, in Batman, Two Face is an evil bank robber who sometimes shoot people. In this game, Two Face murders everybody. Like everybody in this game is a psychopathic murderer, which is actually kind of boring because it kind of makes because all the villains like kill people constantly that it's kind of hard to separate them. Like if everybody's a psychopathic murderer, then nobody's a psychopathic murderer.
Oh, I gotcha. So, like, as opposed to the Joker's just going to go out and murder every person in front of him, but Two-Face is going to be slightly more selective, and the Riddler's really just trying to mess with people. It's instead they're just all going out to kill everybody.
Well, yeah, I guess those characters are okay, um, but yeah, it just feels like it's a lot of the side characters. Actually, I don't want to spoil. That was one thing I really did like about the game was the side character missions. Um,
Yeah.
I think there's about I don't know 15 different like primary side missions, and they all feature like a unique villain.
Yeah.
And
I think
there's some
was it Origins that did that or City?
oh
I know
they all
one of
I
them
think
did that
they all
before.
did that or no or
Okay.
City and Origins both did that. And I don't want to spoil who's in it, but that was actually one of my favorite parts was some of the side missions because they bring characters. I was like, oh my god, it's blank. I can't believe they put blank in the game. I did kind of like the side missions. I thought the side missions were pretty good. But yeah, the thing I don't like, man, it's so hard to talk about the going spoilers. The tone is super dark. Um,
Like dark in what sense? Like
like
dark in just violent, or dark as in
like like
depressing?
the Killing
Like
Joke, like the
yeah.
Killing Joke. It's like that dark like the entire time. The Killing Joke is like one
Oh,
of the
okay. Yeah.
darker Batman comic books.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And there's no real hint of fun in that. I you know what I mean? It's like a very serious story. Um,
Yeah.
it's not lighthearted at all. It's that dark like the entire time. So like when you read the Killing Joke, like let's say you finish the Killing Joke in like 2 hours or something like that. This is the same problem actually I
Yeah.
had with The Last of Us. So I like the Killing Joke, but I don't like playing 25 hours of the Killing Joke.
I got you. So it's more of like a length issue as opposed to necessarily it's dark. It's just you don't want to be in that dark mindset for that long period of time.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, like a lot of especially the side characters, some of the side character missions are really, really, really creepy. Um, this is not a spoiler, but one of those first side missions, like one of the side missions, it's one of the first things you come across is that there's this guy hanging bodies all over Arkham, and
Hmm.
he crucifies them, and then you sit there and you take like this camera that kind of that, and then you sit there and like look for things on their body that
Yeah.
show like
Like the detective mode thing, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you can identify what it is. But the whole thing is like that character, his story is so screwed up and really, really, really freaky. It's almost like I was saying, like going back to Twist Metal Black, like Sweet Tooth and Twist Metal Black. Like this guy's like crazy, murdering,
Oh yeah.
slicing people up and stuff. That I didn't like. Oh, you mentioned the detective mode. This was something I actually really like. Actually, I really like everything that was new that was brought to the series, which is the detective mode. They did the thing that I was really hoping they did. Arkham Origins has a really, really good detective mode in that you actually have to do a little bit of detective work, kind of.
Yeah.
So they bring that back. They bring that back, and they add in a bunch of extra stuff with the detective stuff. Like one of the things I thought was really, really cool is going through security cam footage, and you had to
Oh, that's
find things
yeah.
in security cam footage, or the one thing they did like directly bring from Origins was like the virtual reality thing where you're trying to like deconstruct a crime scene. Um,
Yeah.
so I thought that was really cool. Shoot, man, we need to have like a spoiler cast like once you finish the game. Oh,
Once I
one thing
get
I
it,
did not like,
yeah.
one thing I didn't like was the Arkham Knight wasn't as imposing as I thought that they would be, because you're constantly beating like the Arkham Knight in the game. This is not again not spoilers. He never really beats you. Like you like constantly beat him. So he's like, oh ho ho, I'm gonna take down the Batman. But then
Oh, like that, like almost like how Bowser was in like the old Mario games, where it's like I beat you level one. Oh, well now I'm gonna run away and I'll get you next
yeah,
time, like that kind
it's
of
like
thing.
it's that. So
Oh,
like a third of his dialogue is like him going, ah ha ha, I'll beat you, and the other two thirds are like, I can't believe he's beating us. So
ugh.
he's not super imposing. Scarecrow is really really freaky. Oh
Yeah, I've heard great stuff about that.
yeah, I would say by far this the this has the best. Like I guess it's kind of like a trope in video games. Like your character's going insane, so here you see all this crazy shit, and they do that a lot with the fear gas in this one. But those scenes are probably the best I've ever seen in any game ever. Are his like
Really?
hallucination scenes? Like yeah, by
Huh.
far. Because when they come, like they kind of a lot of them just kind of a lot of them are very surprising in ways I'm not going to describe.
Yeah.
But they definitely mess with it. It's not like you just come into a room and you see something goofy. Like the whole room changes.
Oh,
Um,
that's cool.
so I guess this is a very light spoiler. There's a part where you're just sort of walking around, and all of a sudden, like the light starts shutting off, and it's like it's darker and darker and darker, and you're just moving in this hallway, and like every like the whole, and it's like an area you just fought in. So like you finish the
Huh.
battle, and all of a sudden, like the lights start like dimming and getting closer and closer and closer, and then there's like this single spotlight on you, and then something happens, and blah blah blah. But yeah, they kind of come out of nowhere. There wasn't enough. I felt like, but the ones that were there were so well done and really really unique too. I think some of the crazier stuff that you've seen of the fear gas and like the animated series, they do that in this game. Um, so like the fear gas hallucinations were by far my favorite part, and they were so well done. But yeah, I don't know.
After hearing you talk about it, I guess I kind of understand where you're coming from. Because when you hear like, I hate this game, and I'm sitting here looking at reviews, they're like, oh, this is amazing, this is amazing, this is amazing. You're like, I didn't like it, I didn't like it. Don't buy it, don't buy it. Is what you kept telling me. So
Yeah,
I guess it kind of makes sense to me. But in my mind, like the couple things you complained about, like when I played Arkham Origins, like I think I just played it last summer.
yeah,
I didn't have that stale feeling, so I'm just curious, like, am I going to have that same stale feeling? So it seems like that's the big part of your negativity.
yeah,
And
yeah.
also, I love the idea of a playable version of the Killing Joke. Like, I love that.
Well,
Like, everything
you
you
like that.
described with how, like, dark, like the dark, moody Batman, like, I love that Batman.
I like that Batman, but I feel like that's not Arkham Asylum Batman.
Fair point, but Yeah, I mean, and again, if you think of it almost like as a next step forward in it, I mean, Batman, if you go through the comics, has so many different like tones as you go through it. It's going
Yeah,
to change eventually, and even if you look at, the movie series, you've got kind of the dark Tim Burton start to Batman, and then you've got the Batman Forever and Batman and Robin nonsense. And then it goes back to Christopher Nolan and it's dark again. So you've
yeah.
always got kind of this changing tone with Batman, and I always kind of tend to prefer darker Batman to the more like cartoonish, oh, it's the Riddler, he's telling jokes again.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that's true. But like when I played Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, I felt like they were more they were more like a continuation of the animated series in tone, with like a little bit dark,
Okay.
like a little bit darker than that, obviously, because they draw
Yeah.
a lot from the comics. So I felt it was like a little bit darker than the cartoon series. And then this one is like a very M-rated Batman.
See, but I love the thought of that. Like, I
Yeah.
I love the idea of like a playable killing joke and something that is that dark, just because I don't know. I tend to like darker games like that. I feel like it just gives it this different feel to it.
Yeah.
And the one I'm gonna go back to is like The Last of Us. I love The Last of Us. It had,
Yeah.
I mean, it's such like this just dark, crazy story. And I know you could like made it through like what, like 3 or 4 hours of The Last of Us before you're just like, nope, not for me.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess that's true. Like if you can handle that sort of like level of darkness, I don't know. It's I don't know, man. I'll hopefully you'll get to play the game like somewhat soon.
Yeah.
I personally was kind of miffed that I spent $60 on this, but like if I spent 30 on it, I probably wouldn't be as on top of it. But it's like the first game I'd spent like $60 on in like a long first forever, actually literally
Yeah,
ever.
we talked about that last time, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think that kind of factored a little bit into it. I think I had like too high of expectations for it. But yeah, I guess in short, this is the best Arkham. If you've played a lot of Arkham games recently, it's not going to seem as unique. But
Yeah.
it is definitely the most refined version that I think Arkham will ever be.
Oh, last thing before we move on, Batmobile. Is it
Hmm.
shit or not?
No, it's awesome. I like it a lot.
Okay.
I think one thing that people complain about is that they use the tank too much, and it is true in the final act. You use the tank for like a half hour straight, and it sucks.
Oh, okay.
It's not that the tank mechanic is necessarily bad, and the Batmobile mechanic is actually really really neat. I like the Batmobile a lot. It's just that the tank especially is used like way too much, especially in the last half of the game. It just get and it's like the same sort of gameplay. The gameplay doesn't drastically change with the tank either.
All right. Thank you for listening to our review of Batman Arkham Knight. Doug wasn't a fan of this game, but it sounds like if you have no experience with the Arkham games, it should be a great place to pick up. I'm still really excited to give it a shot at some point, so hopefully I can get some of my thoughts out there on one of our podcasts coming up here soon. But thank you guys for listening. If you'd like to hear more reviews, conversations, news, and just general discussion about video games, please follow us on Twitter, Darksliders_pod, or subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes, wherever you happen to be listening in.